Hey everybody, thanks for joining. In this episode, yes, we are crawling underneath the fifth wheel here again. As we know, we've been under here quite a bit lately because of damage and broken welds and all that kind of stuff. But today, we're not going to talk about all of that. Today, we're going to do general maintenance. That's general maintenance on the generator. Now, those of you that have been watching know that all my batteries and all my electronics got blown up, so I used my generator quite a bit during that time, and it's time to do a little maintenance. Now, just to recap, when you first get a generator, whether you get it on your rig or you buy a brand new one, you have a work-in period. That's usually 20 to 30 hours, and you want to change the oil. That just gets all the work in out, and any little shavings, things that may come out will come out in that first oil change. Then after that, you want to change the oil somewhere around 150 hours. Some go to 170 hours, but I recommend 150, 160 hours you change the oil on your generator. So that's just a brief recap of how often you should do this. In addition to that, always remember that when you're doing maintenance on your rig, whether it's on your generator or anything else, make sure you don't cheap out on the parts. Make sure you get some quality parts so the system will last a lot longer than if you use some cheap stuff and you just gotta worry about breakdowns. At any rate, those of you that know me know that I buy quality parts. I don't buy the most expensive, but I buy the best value of the parts and ones that have a good reputation. So before this gets too long, let's jump right into it and get that oil changed. So let's get right into it. The first thing you got to do is you got to warm it up. Before you change the oil, I recommend, and I think the manufacturer recommends, that you warm it up for about 4 or 5 minutes prior to changing the oil. So in this case here, I could go up front and hit the button and start it up and let it run for a little bit. But there's a button right here. So we're just going to go ahead and use that button, start it up. I'll put the cover back on because it recommends you put it back on there for proper circulation and cooling. And then we'll let it run for a few minutes. All right, let's start it up. Okay, so we've let that run about 5 minutes or so, get the oil nice and warm and make it easier to drain. So now we gotta get ready to drain the oil. But before we do this, I probably should have started with this part. What are you going to be doing? Well, first of all, I bought this kit on Amazon. It has oil filter and air filter all ready to go in one package. Got a fuel filter here as well. But on the next oil change, we'll replace the fuel filter, and it's very, very simple to do these things. So we'll take care of that. So this is the air filter here. The oil filter is down. We'll get access that below. Now, I got a universal oil filter wrench that goes to all different sizes. So that'll work fine for that. Also, to make life easier, I have a set of funnels. I'm not exactly sure which one we're going to use yet. And I drain it in a 1-gallon jug of some type. And then I can just take that to an oil place and dispose of it right there. Then, of course, I have a little better quality oil filter, which we're probably going to use rather than this one that came in the kit. And then you're going to need 2 quarts of oil. I personally like to use a 10W30 synthetic oil. That's what I did when I changed it in the break-in period. And so we're going to just continue to use this Mobil 1 synthetic oil. Yes, it is pricey, but for those of you that watch our channel and those of you that know me, I always try to get the best quality stuff to make sure I have good maintenance. My truck, I use Natasha. I use all synthetic oil there as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to take off the filler cap. And that's this yellow cap right here. We'll just spin that off. And I will say the oil still looks fairly good. Almost new, not new, but almost new. So you just want to loosen that up. We're going to set that aside right there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to relieve this valve right here, and I'm going to get a close-up of this. And that's what opens up the valve, and it drains out this black tube on down into the, through the funnel we're going to use it down into the jug. So here's the drain hose right here that the oil will come out of. And there, of course, is the filter. Okay, that's a little warm. I want to try to touch that. But it's all, not much to grab here. So that's why we're going to use this guy. And should be able to pinch that right out of there with this universal mount. So I'm going to try to set up the camera in a way where you can watch me do all this. But we're going to do the oil filter last. I want to drain most of the oil out first. Then we'll have minimal mess right here when we drain this out. Okay? So I've got the funnel on there, and the hose is going right into the funnel, and the 1 gallon jug right there. Now all we have to do is turn this open. Just like that. And you can't tell yet, but we're dropping oil right in there. You can kind of see the black oil or the darker oil coming in there. And now you see the bottom filling up. So we'll go ahead and let this drain out for 10-15 minutes. See if it stops dripping, or until it stops dripping. So while the oil's still draining out, I thought it was a great time to go ahead and change the air filter. And this couldn't be simpler. All you simply do is release this clip, that clip, and whoops, one more clip. Pull that front cover off. There's the oil filter. Still looks pretty good. Actually, looks very good. Not that different than the new one. But we're going to go ahead and change it anyway, because this is when you should be doing so. So let me get the old one out of the bag and we'll put it back in. So to put the new one in, simply pop it into place, then cover. So the top slides in first right there, and you push it down into place and just clip the clips back into place. Boom. That's how simple that is. So one more thing I want to talk about. Now, some people will recommend that you disconnect the power to the generator before you change it. I guess that's a great safety switch. I know it's recommended by a couple other folks out in the YouTube world for RVs. In fact, well, I guess I could do that. I don't really do that. It's never started by itself. Never kicked in. I'm onshore power. So I don't anticipate that ever happening or having a need to kick on. So we've got the air filter changed. The oil is, believe it or not, still dripping. So we're going to let that drip until it stops, and then we'll dive right into the oil filter. And then we just put the new oil filter on. Obviously we got to close the drain. Put the new oil filter in, and we'll show you how to do that there in a minute as well. But let's wait for it to finish draining. So we'll put this universal mount on. Yes. There we go, I got it loose enough. Yeah. Okay, it's loose enough now. I can spin it off with my hand. Now it's going to be full of oil, so it's very important that you drop it straight down. Trying to get you guys. So all we want you to do is you take a little bit of old oil and you get this seal nice and wet. And the little oil I spilled is a great place to get it from. We'll put it in there. And we'll just spin it hand tight. So, I'm going to clean a little oil off there because I just got my finger on that edge. And all we need to do is just, that's good enough. You just want it hand tight. You don't want to put a wrench back on it and tighten it up. You could squeeze it in a little tight, and it's going to be very hard to get out the next time. And that's all you do to put the oil filter back on. So now we're just going to close this valve. So you turn it the proper way, righty-tighty, and we're going to close this off because we're done draining all the oil out. So we got that nice and tight. Now we're ready to put new oil back in, and again, it takes 2 full quarts. So now we just have to refill the 2 quarts of oil. So that's very simple. You just unscrew the oil, hold on to the funnel, and start filling in. Now don't go too fast because it takes the oil slowly. So you just want to fill a little bit at a time. Go too fast, you're going to have a little overflow. Small little channels in there take a while to fill up. We'll speed this up for you. Okay, once you get it full, and it's really full up there right now. Didn't get the full 2 quarts in yet, but I know what will fit in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the cap back on. And we're going to start it and let it run for about a minute, and then we're going to shut it off. Pull that cap off. I guarantee you we'll have a little more room to fill it all the way up. What happens is the oil in the top reservoirs and little channels that keeps the engine lubricated, and part of the filter didn't fill up all the way just by filling it in there. Even though the filter is below, you'd think gravity feed would fill all of it up. But it's kind of like when you take a cup of water in a pool and you turn it upside down and you push down on it, there's still a little air left in it. You got to burp that air out of there. Well, that's what we're about to do. Okay? So, sealed up. That's sealed up. There's no drops down below. That's the important thing. Let's start it up. So we just let it run a few seconds. Actually, I did about 10-15 seconds. Take the filter cap off. And sure enough, the reservoir is empty. So we'll go ahead and take the rest of our oil. Put the funnel back in there. Again, slowly. And I see the oil right at the top. So clean that off. Screw that all the way in. Oh, and by the way, when you're screwing this in, it should go very easy. If it starts to snag on you or get tight until you get to the seal, you're cross-threading. Back, stop immediately, back it off, and just turn it a little bit so you get clean threads all the way. So, cap's back on. Pull it out. And you can't see this, but it's right at the full mark. We're going to do one more test. Completely full. Now, I promised you a couple tips and tricks for when you're inside here doing this simple maintenance. Is to check a few other things. You want to make sure you have proper maintenance. The first thing you're going to want to check is you're going to peel back these covers on your connections for the battery. Make sure there's no corrosion. Make sure that's all nice and clean. And most importantly, this nut is tight. The worst loss in power and or battery drain is when you have a loose connection or a loose lug on those connections. Maybe the wires that were not made very well, and that'll be a drain, battery drain for you. Ours looks good, so we're going to pop that back on. Other things you want to look at is like the sending unit right here. You want to make sure it's clean. I always dust all this stuff off. There's no burn in the wires. The wire's not brittle or anything like that. It's in good shape. The other wiring harnesses, the same thing. Just check them. Make sure there's nothing burning anywhere. That's a fuel line right there. This big wiring harness right here, that looks good. Again, I go in there, I dust, and make sure everything's clean, like it was brand new. And another thing you want to look at when you're inside here is, are there any leaks of either oil or fuel or things like that that are apparent? Like here's where the fuel goes in. Are there any drops below it that might be indicating there's a leak of fuel? No, we don't have that here. I'm going to put that right in there. Pull it out because I can't see around that edge. And it's perfectly clean. So that's it. That's all there's to do in the maintenance, proper maintenance on this. The next time we do maintenance, we are going to change the fuel filter. We might even dive into the spark arresters, but I think that's not for several hundred more hours, so we'll double check on all of that. And I guess that's it. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about here, or any tips or tricks that you'd like to share with the community, please leave those comments below. We really appreciate that. And I'd like to remind all of you to go ahead and hit like, subscribe, ring that little bell, leave the comments, be the click monster, do all of those things. It helps YouTube know that you guys actually like this content, and we should do more of it. Well, thanks for tuning in, and make it a great bucket list day. Goodbye.